Welcome to Fireside Knicks. My name is Alex, your host for today. And for the topic at hand, Quentin Grimes, rookie out of Houston, I want to discuss why he should be earning more minutes on this Knicks team, of course, playing the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. And they're getting a bunch of players back: Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and Karl Anthony Towns, all expected to make a comeback off the COVID list, which is bad news for the Knicks because they thought maybe we'd get a little bit of a shorthanded team who ended up beating the Celtics yesterday anyway. But the reason I kind of want to discuss Quentin Grimes is mainly because Evan Fournier kind of sucks at times. And a lot of people will agree. The thing is, everybody before the season, or not everybody, I don't want to generalize, said that Evan Fournier would contribute more offensively than Reggie Bullock. And that obviously would be true. But the question was, how would they supplement the loss of defense, right? Reggie Bullock is a solid defender, 3-and-D player, spot-up shooter. And that's kind of what I liked about Reggie Bullock. He'd get in the right positions at the right times and just be a body in the right spot to knock down three-point shots and have a high field goal percentage. That's kind of what I wanted from a 3-and-D player. The problem was the Knicks said, we don't want 3-and-D players. We want to take a more offensive creating curation approach, and that's why they went and got Evan Fournier, who is not only a spot-up shooter, but he's more of a shot creator. He's not the best when it comes to driving to the rim, but he can create off the dribble. He can do some things. He can kick the ball out. The problem is he's not really a great passer, and he's an awful defender, right? His positioning is terrible. His feet and his hands, just there's no chemistry or cohesion between the two. And it really leaves the Knicks in a vulnerable state on defense, especially in transition. He just can't keep up. He's extremely slow. He's not agile enough to keep up against some of these more athletic guards or forwards for that matter. Quentin Grimes, on the other hand, I actually think is a perfect 3-and-D player with the ability to create shots for himself. Now, he's not a traditional guy at this point in the stage of his career. He's super young. He's not asked to be the kind of guy that's going to go out and create opportunities and pass the ball and facilitate. That's not what he's meant to do at this point. I just want to see him being a pure up, straight 3-and-D player. And when he was with Houston, he was known for his aggressive defense, on-ball defense, off-ball. He is good at positioning. He covers for people. He communicates. And I think that's really what stood out to me the most when it comes to Quentin Grimes. And he's been pretty solid as of late, too. He's coming back off the COVID list. He had 2 consecutive games with double-digit points. Obviously, the last one being against Milwaukee, and then fast forward to Atlanta. He spent 10 days on the NBA's health and protocols list. Against Milwaukee on December 12th, Grimes scored 27 points. That was a career high up to this point. Obviously, still pretty young into his rookie season. He shot 7 of 13 from three-point range. And then fast forward to the win against Atlanta on Christmas Day, he followed that up with 15 points and 41.7% shooting from three. This season, I think he's shooting about 45% from three-point range and 48.4% in the month of December alone, averaging 8.5 over 14.5 minutes per game. At this point in his season, I'd say he's really developing into a pretty solid three-point shooter, and the reason is he's getting into the right spots, just like Reggie Bullock did. He got into the right spots at the right time, and he was just a kick-out option. Let Julius Randle and Kemba Walker maneuver and let them work off one another, so the defense is forced to collapse and really hyper-focus on those two scorers, and guys like Quentin Grimes can kind of just sneak into the corner and get open looks, and he's done that really at a high level, so I think that's something that the Knicks should consider when thinking about maybe Quentin Grimes should be getting more minutes here. The former Houston standout has 105.1 defensive rating this season compared to Evan Fournier's 112 defensive rating and negative 5.7 net rating. So Fournier has really been a liability on defense. We all know this. When you look at Grimes, he's actually been a positive on defense. And I think that's something they need to consider. Now, when Fournier is on, when he's in rhythm, when he's shooting well, he's an extremely dangerous scorer. He's not really a good defensive player. He has a couple steals every now and then, but he's not a good defensive player. He doesn't really have that many good defensive games unless you're against a really bad team. Like Detroit, for example, he had a good game against Cade Cunningham, who's a rookie. But that's like that, it's neither here nor there. It's really just you're looking at Fournier as a bad defender overall and an inconsistent shooter and scorer. But I still like him. I like Fournier. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good player to have. But ultimately, giving him a 4-year, $73 million deal might have been a little bit overzealous. I think Quentin Grimes actually might be a better fit for this team, and especially in the future too, specifically because he's a better defender. And Tom Thibodeau, if there's any way to get on the floor for a Tom Thibodeau-led team, it is to play freaking defense. And he does that at a really high rate. So I think that's primarily the reason. He's been supplementing the minutes as RJ Barrett gets back into the lineup and really eases in and gets his stamina right. But I think he should be eating into 5 to 10 minutes of Evan Fournier's play. I think he's averaging about 25 to 30 minutes per game, Fournier is right now. But if Quentin Grimes can steal 5 to 10 minutes, somewhere in that range, that's a pretty healthy number. That'll go under the radar for the most part. People won't notice Fournier off the floor for 5 minutes a game less. But Quentin Grimes, I just think the front office is telling Thibodeau, we just spent a crap ton of money on this guy. We can't pull him. Kemba Walker's one thing. He's on a 2-year deal. He's making $7 million, whatever. And of course, now he's off the exile. He's off the bench and he's playing really, really well. But you're looking at, Evan Fournier, you can't pull him. He's making $14 to $16 million a season. It's unsustainable. You just can't do it in the first year of the contract. But if you take 5 minutes from him, take 5 minutes from this guy or that guy, whoever's the weak hand of the night. And I think that may be the best, strategy is whoever's not playing well, whoever the weak hand is, let Quentin Grimes steal those minutes. I'll let Obi Toppin steal those minutes. Obi Toppin's transition game has been phenomenal. I'd love to see, even Kemba or quickly with Obi Toppin and Quentin Grimes on the floor. That second team has picked this team up a lot this year. But overall, I want to hear your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Do you think that Quentin Grimes should be earning more time and why? I think I've made some good arguments here. I think I've provided some good statistics to show that he's been a really good defender this season, but he's also knocking down his 3-point shots. Evan Fournier is only shooting 36% from 3-point range this year, and he's traditionally about a 40% shooter. And a lot of his attempts, man, you ever notice that he either bricks them off the backboard or the front of the rim, or they're a swoosh. There's never really close shots. Either it's in or it's an awful shot. And a lot of his attempts are just they're just off balance. He's off 1 foot, doesn't have his feet under him. I'd like to see him take more efficient shots. Just get into a good spot and post up. You don't always have to be running in circles. Sometimes I feel like he's a chicken with his head cut off. And I'd love to hear your comments. Make sure to like and subscribe below as always. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Knicks episode.